Dan Noodles, a fiery Sichuan street food known for its chewy wheat noodles, an intense spicy sauce packed with Sichuan chili peppers that deliver an addictive, tongue-numbing punch, and topped with some crispy pork. This dish gonna make you sweat. And we make sense of the unfamiliar by comparing it to what we know. Raviolis, Italian dumplings. Croque monsieur, French grilled cheese. Samosas, Indian empanadas. It is not necessarily right, however, it's human nature, and ultimately leads to a better understanding of something new. So as an Italian American, when I look at Dan Noodles, I see one thing: Chinese Bolognese. And I mean no disrespect, but through that I discovered this new dish that's easy, fast to throw together, and packed with flavor, and is something a home cook like you should know how to make. This is Dan Noodles. And it starts with some ground pork. Here I've got about 100 grams, and 100 grams is a good proportion per person. I'm making this for one. Now to this pork, just kind of like we would marinate beef or beef with broccoli, we're gonna treat it very similar. I got a little bit of soy sauce, now like half teaspoon. I'm not even gonna measure it. I'm just literally trying to like soak the pork with some of this flavor. Just like that. Then I'm going in with some dark soy sauce. This is actually, contrary to what you might think, not stronger, it's actually lighter. It adds a lot of good color though. Again, roughly the same amount. Here I've got some Shaoxing cooking wine. Again, very little amount. I've got some cane sugar here. Add a pinch of salt, a few dashes of sesame oil, and about a teaspoon of cornstarch. I'm just gonna massage that all together. Let all that meat soak up all of that marinade. Should smell delicious. You can set that off to the side. Next up, we need to make the Dan sauce, or at least the base to the sauce. The sauce does kind of come together a little bit like a pasta. Starts with 2 tablespoons of regular soy sauce. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add a 1/3 tablespoon of dark soy sauce. But if you don't have dark soy sauce, just add another tablespoon of the soy. And now there's a few specialty ingredients involved in this recipe. The first is black vinegar. If you have an Asian market, you can get it there, or you can order it online. I'm gonna go with a tablespoon of that. Now that's sort of the liquid base. You're gonna need a little bit more sugar, so I'm gonna go in with at least 1 tablespoon of sugar. If you wanna neutralize the heat a little bit, you could add another half, or a total of 1.5. Then we got some MSG, or what some people call yum. Just gonna add like a 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon. Now once that gets cooked, another ingredient we have is tahini or sesame paste. We're gonna use that later. You can also use peanut butter, but not quite the same. Then here I've got some Sichuan chili peppers. So these are a special kind of chili pepper, as the name suggests, from Sichuan. And this is a pepper that gives you sort of like this tingling, tongue-numbing sensation, along with a little bit of heat. So it is a unique sensation and flavor. Oh, okay. You need about a teaspoon. That's all over my floor. Again, if you've got an Asian market, you can find it. You can also find all of the specialty ingredients I'm gonna use today, which there is one more, on the internet, Amazon. So I got a mortar and pestle. If you've got a spice grinder, you can do that. And we just wanna grind this into a powder. Now to do that initially, you kind of sort of just gotta pop the peppercorns, crack open that shell, and then start sort of grinding in a circular motion along the bottom and edges of the mortar and pestle until it kind of pulverizes into a powder. Right away, the perfume's not quite like a black pepper. It's more floral, more perfumey. It doesn't quite burn the nostrils the same, but it does have heat. What we're gonna do is we're gonna scoop that into a little bowl. And less is more here. You use too much of this stuff, that's really gonna numb your mouth and overpower all the other flavors of the dish. That's ready. I don't know if this is normally in the dish, but I like to use a little bit of garlic and ginger. I need about half this ginger. I don't like too much. Just gonna cut the garlic in half like that, so it's open face, and sit them upright. Same with this. The fibers are open this way, so I'm gonna face it down and cut it in half, right? Place my knife on it, and it just sort of instant minced. Go on my sleeve? What the? So as you can see, since the fibers are kind of facing up, it just sort of minces open. Same with the garlic. That's a yen can cook trick.
Done. Minced ginger. Done. Minced ginger.
And if you want, you go in and give it a quick once through. This is actually a new knife I'm using from Made In. It's really beautiful. It's limited edition. This is not an ad. I don't have a link for you. I'm just saying if you like it, you probably gotta get it quick. I don't think you need the garlic and ginger. Just adds more aromatics to the dish. So we've got our garlic and our ginger and our Sichuan prepped. Chili oil is gonna go into the sauce as well. Then the last specialty ingredient, it's a Chinese fermented mustard green. I believe the name is Sumayachai. Cha. Again, this is harder to find even at an Asian market, so I ordered it online. It lasts a long time, it's fermented, so you can get a small pack and be able to make this a few times. This is basically the signature ingredient in the dish. Just looks like, like a pickled, chopped up, fermented green. Try to find it, see if you like it. I think it adds a nice nuance to the dish. I'll try to remember to leave links down to all this stuff. And lastly, for garnish, I just need some green onions. And I'm not even gonna take them out of this bunch. It just makes it a lot easier to get nice cuts. Push forward, let the knife do all the work. Beautiful color, beautiful garnish at the end. So now, first we're gonna cook the pork, and that's gonna get cooked with the garlic and ginger and the fermented mustard green. Then we need to combine the sugar and the Szechuan with the sauce. Just dissolve it in a pan, and then we can move on to the next step. Now I'm just gonna get a non-stick pan over medium-high heat, and I'm gonna add a touch of oil to it. Swirl it around and get it nice and hot. Then we can take our marinated pork and add that to the pan, and take a flat-bottomed wooden spatula and just start breaking it up into a mince. And we don't wanna go too small of a mince, but we definitely don't want too chunky of a mix, right? So we're gonna break it up into little bite-sized pieces, and unlike a Bolognese, we're going to not brown it as deeply. When we make a Bolognese, we almost dry out the pork only to rehydrate it as it cooks for hours. That's not the case here. You wanna just brown the outside, keep it nice and moist in the middle. Once we're there, kind of push the pork off to the side, and we can add in our fermented mustard green. We want to start cooking that, sauteing that with the pork, and getting that mixed in. Then we can take our garlic and ginger, get that into the pan, start getting that fragrant and flavoring the pork. Get everything nice and combined and sauteed, and once the garlic and ginger are nice and aromatic, we can go in with our liquids. First up, I'm gonna take my cap as a measure because we don't need too much, and add about a half cap of the Shaoxing wine, about an equal amount of light soy sauce, an equal amount of dark soy sauce, and an equal amount of the black vinegar. We're just gonna stir it up, toss it all together, make sure all the pork is nicely coated in all that flavor. And we don't want a lot of moisture on the bottom of the pan. The bottom of the pan should be relatively dry, and that should be good. We're going to get that into a bowl and set that off to the side. Next, we're making the base to our sauce. And to do that, we just need to wipe out the pan. Kind of want to start this part with a dry pan, no oil in it. Then just put the nonstick back on the burner and add in the ground Szechuan peppercorns. We're going to toast that for about 30 seconds. It's going to happen quickly. After 30 seconds, we can add in our soy mixture, and then we can go in with our sugar. On low heat, we just want to bring this to a simmer and dissolve the sugar. We do not want to really reduce this very much. Once the sugar is dissolved, we're going to use a spatula, pour out all that sauce into a bowl, and set that off to the side. All right, so now we've got our pork topping, essentially, and our sauce base. Now remember, this is street food. Obviously, Italian food with a noodle and a sauce usually come together in a pan, but imagine a street food vendor in Sichuan dropping noodles, getting a bowl, adding some of the sauce, adding the noodles, topping it with the pork. It all comes together like that, and you're supposed to mix it together. So we're sort of assembling the elements of it so that it all comes together real quick. Set the pork off to the side. We gotta deal with this guy. So I've got my tahini here, which is basically just a peanut butter made from sesame seeds. So it's split. You kind of got to stir it to thicken it back up. I'm gonna add about roughly around 2 tablespoons of this stuff. And then we're gonna go in with our sauce. Add a little bit at a time. I'm looking for a little bit of a consistency here. So I'm gonna stir that into the mixture. I think we can add all of it. So what you got is like a thick glaze. And so now to that, we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of some chili oil. Now I just got, one of my favorite chili crunch versions of it. Keep it in this thing because the jars seem to leak all over my fridge whenever I do it. We're gonna add that. Again, you add as much or as little as you want to control the heat. And then to this thick mixture here, this flavor bomb. Just like we would with pasta, we're gonna take the noodle water, add it to it, and adjust the consistency. It becomes creamy, becomes sauce-like, and that's gonna be the Dan sauce. 2 more things left. Our vegetable, in this case, bok choy. Bok choy is a wonderful little vegetable. If you're not used to it, you should get used to eating them. I got all this at my H Mart, and I really like these smaller baby ones. And literally, I'll just cut them in half, and then these sort of just like can sit in the bowl real nice like that. And then, you know, something like this, it's gonna come with 2 packages of noodles, 1 per person. I'm gonna use 1. It's probably 5 ounces, around 100, 150 grams of noodles. I'm just gonna bring a pot of water up to a boil. We can blanch the bok choy, cook our noodles, and wrap this thing up. So now our pot of water is boiling, and we're gonna season it with salt. Then we can take our bok choy, and I'm gonna use a strainer because the top of the bok choy cooks so much faster than the bottom. So I'm just gonna sort of prop them up and allow the base of the bok choy to get a head start in the boiling water. After about 30 seconds to a minute, we can submerge the rest of the bok choy and allow it to blanch for another 30 seconds or so, or just until the bottom of the bok choy becomes tender. And then we can fish it out, drain it on a paper towel. Then to that water, we can add in our Chinese noodles. And these are gonna cook very quickly, about a minute, minute and a half. And while they do, that starchy water that it created, I'm gonna spoon out just like pasta water and add a few tablespoons to the base of our Dan sauce. We wanna stir the pasta water with the Dan sauce until it becomes a little bit looser, creamier, lighter in color, and thick enough to coat the noodles. By now, the noodles should be nice and al dente. Fish them out into a strainer, and then we're ready to finish this up. So now what would happen is they'd get their bowl. They'd probably assemble the base and the chili oil and all the tahini in the bowl like this, but we did it in advance. Create a nice base of the sauce, and then just sort of lay it on top. Then add the pork and the garnish on top, and you would mix it all together. But hey, look, I'm Italian. I can't help myself. I gotta mix and marry the noodle into the sauce before serving. It seems like it would be annoying doing it at the dinner table. That's sort of what you're looking for. Now let's plate it like we mean it. We go just a little bit more down on the bottom. Then we go on top, a generous amount of the crumbled pork. Scrape the bok choy along the edge of the bowl. A little more chili oil garnish. Finally finish up with a good amount of that green onion on top. It's so good, and it's spicy, so I'm addicted to it, so I gotta keep shoving it in my mouth. I mean, when I think about this, it's just got everything I love about pasta, but this unique, amazing flavor from China. So if you're trying to expand your horizons, and you're like me and eat a lot of pasta, this dish is for you, especially if you like it hot. If you wanna give it a shot, recipes down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself. Go feed yourself.